Welcome everybody to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Comer and am a podcast engineer here. I'm excited to bring you another episode of the World of Nutrition with Marilyn. We've been doing this for it's been a little while here. That we do every second Friday of the month at 1 o'clock Hawaii time or 5 o'clock Central right now. And we'd love to have you all come on as a guest to let us know if you are interested. And to please check out all of our social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and so on. But with nothing further to do, pass this over to Marilyn to kick us off today. And with our great guest. So welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate you. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to another podcast, World of Nutrition podcast, where we talk about nutrition for your body, mind, and soul. And today we have such a special guest, Kathy Rodriguez. I'm so thrilled to have her on. And so Kathy Rodriguez, she's an empowerment life coach, specializing in helping women navigate life's pivotal moments, from empty nesting to career shifts and beyond. With a blend of compassionate guidance and actionable insights, Kathy supports clients in reclaiming their purpose, freedom, and joy, empowering them to move from feeling stuck to embracing transformation. She's been the corporate professional, the stay-at-home mom, the empty nester, and every evolution in between, bringing a wealth of personal experience to her coaching. Kathy, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me here, Marilyn and Emily. And it is so wonderful to be here on this Friday in January of 2025. Oh my gosh. I can't believe it's
first
here.
Podcast of the year. So please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm an empowerment coach. I work with men and with women, but primarily with women during those transition phases of their lives. So I help them, I'm really good at pivoting. So that's one of my signature workshops that I do is called The Power of the Pivot. I have changed lives, changed careers, moved across the country multiple times, pivoted in so many ways. It makes it much easier for me to help people and understand where they're at in their own journey and then encourage them to move beyond what's keeping them where they're at. So yeah. I'm also a yoga instructor and I've been, like you mentioned, a corporate professional. I have a degree in biology and did clinical research for multiple years. So all of that information, all of that wealth of knowledge and experience comes into play with every single one of my clients.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And that you're a yoga instructor too. So you know how to remind people to breathe because we're not deep breathers. We're very shallow breathers, which I'm finding out, like, how can we have those mindful moments to breathe, right?
Well, and really because I've been in fitness my entire life. I was a competitive swimmer and then, became when my kids went off to school and we moved here, I've always been very active. I love to hike. I love to do boxing and all the things in between. And so for me, helping others figure out where they need to move in their own journey for their bodies, minds, and spirits, it all comes into play. And that's what I love about the bandwidth, the width of experience that I bring with me. Because if a client needs some help with figuring out what they need to eat, right? What they need, how they need to move their body. I can help guide them through that as well. Do they need routines? Maybe they're going through something and a meditation would help them. So I can record those meditations coming from that yoga background and that breathing. A lot of my clients have benefited from, I have one recording, it's just 3 breaths. I send it to them and they can use that whenever they need to bring that nervous system down. So all of that helps all of my clients and really it's about empowering them to just say why not, right?
Absolutely. So what when you do maybe an onboarding or a discovery call with a person, what can they expect?
So I have all of my I don't really have onboarding, I guess I call them clarity calls, because I need to know that I can work with them and that they need to know a little bit more about me. It's that connection. Even if we're via Zoom, there's still a connection that you feel with people. And some people you mesh with and some people you don't, and that's okay. I don't go into a meeting with preconceived notions about somebody. And that's what I absolutely love. Every time I've had that initial phone call, I've told them, I'm not your mother. I'm not your husband. I'm not going to try and fix everything. I'm not your best friend that wants to keep you here in this little best friend mode. I am the person that wants to see you achieve and reach what you want to achieve and reach without societal expectations, cultural, familial. All of those things don't come into play when you're sitting and talking with me. So yeah, it can run the gamut. It can sometimes it's a simple individual call because of something they're going through in the moment. It may lead to more later, but those calls are important to me, whether it's just one clarity call or it leads to working with somebody. So yeah, just
Well,
conversation, no limits. They can talk about whatever they want, right?
clarity call. I like that for more clarity.
Yes.
I'm curious, when you meet people that you're working with and they have these goals and they come up to maybe a wall, quote unquote wall that they're like feeling stuck or maybe wanting to, maybe take their foot off the gas a little bit because they're like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. What would you recommend in that part?
It gets scary, right? It's those scary, scary, scary moments because that's what really keeps us back is that fear. And so it's sitting down and figuring out why they're doing that, right? Giving them perhaps a different perspective to look at things. And so a lot of it is sitting, listening, and listening for cues they might not even hear of themselves. So, for example, I had a recent call with a 23-year-old young gentleman. His grandmother had referred me, and he was struggling with the breakup of a relationship. And throughout the conversation, I would ask him a question or, prompt him to think a little deeper about something. And at one point, in our conversation, he actually said, well, I've been through, really rough things. And I said, did you come on the other side of the really sucky moments? And he goes, oh, yeah. And I said, and so he just kept talking about the things he'd struggled with and gone through in the past and that he'd come out the other side. And I said, so with this breakup, do you think you could survive it if it happens? And that come out the other side? If you've been through all of these things, how does this look in comparison to those? And he said, yes. I'm like, he didn't even realize that he had said that he'd been through all of that and been through the struggle and come out the other side. I've been through worse, is what he said. And I'm like, did you realize what you just said? You've been through worse and you came out the other side. And so that's what a lot of times happens when someone hits those walls, hits those fears, those worries. Our subconscious wants to keep us safe. So sometimes it throws little things in our way. So that's the nice thing, is having someone that can ask you questions that'll prompt you and bring a different perspective to the situation. A lot of times they surprise themselves, right? What they share and what they say. They're like, oh, I never noticed that. And I love it. And they're
Yeah,
so
that
yeah.
makes sense. I always say you have survived every single bad day that you've ever had. And they're
Yes.
like, oh yeah.
Well, and that's, that's the biggest thing. I have a workshop that I did in person called The Power of the Pivot. And so I'll be doing that in via Zoom now at the end of February. And when I talked to the women it was 13 women in person, and I asked them to tell me at the end, not personally, but write on a card and leave it anonymous, what they learned what surprised them the most about the day. And it was amazing to hear the stories, and what they shared. Some of them they didn't realize they had never sat down and tried to dream of a future. Other ones recognized that they hadn't gone through or finished processing a parent's passing, and having those conversations, but also they hadn't realized the strength that they had because they never sat down to think about how much they'd been through, right? And sat down and written it and went, oh my gosh, I've done a lot. So why am I worrying about this thing over here? Why am I so afraid to pivot and change and grow? And when those moments happen, it's powerful, you know. I always find it interesting. I have a lot of people who've done my retreats and my workshops, and I have a women's group coaching going on right now. And they always are, I'm surprised at how open you are. And I'm like, but if I'm willing to be open and vulnerable to strangers or even people I know, that allows them to give themselves permission to do the same thing. So, for me, a lot of my clients, that's the feedback that I get is, they feel reassured that they can be open and honest with me because I'm open and honest with them. And I think that's important.
That safe space is so important. People want to feel safe.
Yes. Yes. Well, and it's one of those trending phrases, right? This is your safe space. But it really and truly is when the person that you're with is there listening, right? And open themselves to share. So, yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. Creating a safe space. And then something that I have been thinking about too is like, how are we loving ourselves? People have been experiencing burnout. There's emotional things that's happening, especially in the United States or California
Mhm.
right now, right? So, like,
Oh, yeah.
are we loving ourselves to be able to keep putting one foot in front of the other? So, I mean, I would love to hear your take on, when people are just feeling so stressed out or they're feeling lost. And, my sister is in California. She had to
Mhm.
evacuate her
Yeah.
place. So, just dealing with that with her cat, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, how would you help address that for people?
Well, for people going through some really incredibly emotionally charged changes, right? So maybe a change in a relationship, right? So a divorce or a breakup, losing a parent, a spouse, a best friend, loss of any kind. It's really sitting down and recognizing that that's what they're going through. A lot of them don't even think, well, I had to go race off and evacuate, but you're grieving the loss of the potential, right? And recognizing that it's a process and that it is grief, whether it's a breakup in a relationship or it's the loss of a house, the loss of a parent, a spouse. It is all part of a grieving process. And recognizing that it's okay to, I don't use the it's okay to not be okay phrase a lot, but it's true. It is, some days are going to suck. And let's be honest, right? And some days you'll see some little shining light. And it's about learning to appreciate and be grateful for what we do have in the midst of that, right? So if the sun comes out and it's blue sky, but first, can you imagine? I'm from Southern California as well. And so for me, I know I'm constantly on the phone with my brother during this to make sure he and his family are safe. And I have friends that have lost their homes. And as hard as it is in the moment right now going through it, imagine the feeling that first day when everything is cleared, the smoke is gone, but the sky is blue. And I'd be grateful for that blue sky. right? Amidst the tragedy, you'll see the growth happening, right? They'll find the one flower, the one thing that survived. And it blows your mind at what survives, including ourselves.
So finding that silver lining and even seeing like the community come together
Yes.
and people all over the world coming together to, you know, create that community that have that support, whether
Yeah.
it's prayers or finances and things like that. Like it's
Well,
been
and I think,
much.
the biggest thing is, don't be afraid to ask for help. Whatever help they need, emotional, physical, emotional, financial, right? Ask for the help. All of those people, if we sit down and we think about all of the people that we interact with in our lifetime and all of the people that we do things for and we don't expect anything back, all of those people are just waiting for permission to do something for you. So ask for that help. You're not less than because you ask for help or that you need help. And I think that's the biggest form of self-love you can give yourself. Amongst that is the ability to ask for help. So,
It's
yeah.
so important because I will say growing up, I thought if I asked for help, I was weak.
Mm-hmm. But you're strong,
Yeah.
right? Because it takes courage, right? And especially, like you said, right? A lot of people get that culturally, right? From their families, things that people have said to them, right? They've have that impression that you're less than if you ask for help. But you're not, because especially when you've been told your whole life that it is, for you to actually take that step and ask for that help, that's huge. And I had a client, a clarity call, and I asked her, what was she celebrating this week? Right? What did she do this week she wanted to celebrate? She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, we should always celebrate ourselves. If I had a very long day in the office and I took a shower, I'm going, hey, yeah, I took a shower today. Yay me. Right? I made a batch of egg bites. I did some meal prep today. Yay me. I did the laundry. Yay me. We should be celebrating ourselves. So I asked her that and she didn't have an answer. And I said, so I'm going to give you one. I said, celebrate the fact that you follow me on Instagram and you had the courage, based off of something I had said, to click on the link in my bio and set up this call today. That's huge. You don't know me. You follow me on Instagram, right? But you had the courage to take that first step and make the call. Why are you not celebrating that? And so, that's what my biggest takeaway from a lot of things is when we don't celebrate ourselves, we think it's ego than when we cheer ourselves on and we're our own cheerleader, but it's not. We're telling ourselves, you're worth it. You're worthy. You are capable of love and you're worth love, including self-love. Yeah.
That's a great reminder. She's taking action. The people who are taking action, it's like, yes, even though we're not where like we want to be, because we have goals that we keep creating bigger and bigger goals, right? As we
Yes.
progress, it's like the journey of the action and the process, loving the
Yes.
process. I think that's huge because yes, maybe she's not in the place that she wants to be. However, you're reminding her that she can celebrate where she is and what action steps she's taking.
Well, and that is, I did a retreat. It was called Love the Shape of You. And it was one of my favorites in that having an honest conversation with a room full of women about loving their bodies and how many times we judge our own bodies and learning to love our now no matter where we're at in our journey physically, we should always love our now body, right? I might not love my waistline, right? But I love that my body nurtured and grew twins to full term. So why wouldn't I love my waistline? Might not like it some days, but that's what I do, the yoga and the running and exercise and genetics and all those kinds of things, and eat healthy and make good choices for my body. But I also love, some days my 60-year-old body says, yeah, that really hurts, or, well, I really don't like that you're moving like that. And I listen to it, and I can still love it on the days when maybe it's not being particularly nice to me either. So yeah.
Oh, it's so powerful. And you don't even look 16. Like when you said that, what is happening? You look
My
fantastic.
hairdresser is wonderful. I've never, it's one of those things, I've never hidden my age. When I talk to people, is it okay to ask you? I'm like, yeah, why not? Why should I be ashamed of my age? Right? My age has allowed me to live a full life to this point because of the choices I've made, the things that I've done. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I can look at all those other evolutions of Kathy, and they all come into play. All of those evolutions are still here in this 60-year-old body, right? So what are you celebrating today, Marilyn? I'm going to
Oh
put
my
you on the
gosh,
spot.
I love that because I was like, let's do that with each other today, right now. Let's celebrate what we're doing. Well, I'm celebrating that, you are here on my podcast, just sharing all your wisdom. And I'm celebrating that, I did my 10-minute presentation today on my business for Frequence this morning for my BNI chapter. And it was
Yes.
so much fun, right?
Yes.
And then I get to celebrate with some of my chapter members later on after this.
Right.
We go to a coffee shop on Fridays and we hang out, and it's so amazing, like just to see people in person and connect in that way, right?
Right. And that's also self-love, right? You're
Yes.
saying, I deserve this break and this time away, right? I have a long list of other things I could do, but I'm saying, no, for me today, I'm going to go do that. So that's a win, right? For
Mhm.
me, it was the same thing. I got up this morning, I had my coffee, I was reading a book, and I had inspiration hit. And I came upstairs and not showered, right? Came into my office and I sat down, and 4.5 hours later, I had punched out. I have one of the the women's group that I do meets every Saturday or every third Saturday of the month. And so it is a group coaching. So for some people who can't afford or are a little intimidated doing one-to-one coaching, it's great to do it as a group because then they are there to support, encourage, and we learn from one another when we're in a group as well. And so my next one is next weekend. And so I know my subject, I know what it's going to be about, and I've been working on it behind the scenes, but I punched out the entire workbook and did content for 2 weeks. And I'm like, yay me, right? So I could have said, it's rainy and gross outside and I didn't have anywhere I had to be. I also did laundry, so I'm a multitasker. But I could have just sat there and said, I'm just going to drink my chai and wrap myself in my blanket and watch the rain fall and read a book. And that would have been fine too. That's the thing, right? Sometimes we need those breaks, and we need to not kick ourselves when we give ourselves those breaks. Especially as women and moms and wives, we tend to, especially moms, we tend to put ourselves last. And it's time we take a little bit of time and gives ourselves grace. It's okay to sit on the sofa and, read a book or whatever it is that you like to do. And we don't need to kick ourselves that we're not doing like this constantly, right? And that's that overwhelm, that stuckness, that unsureness comes from not stopping. and feeling we have to move. And then we get stuck in the not moving and we don't move. So if we sit, give ourselves a break and give ourselves grace to take that break. I mean, I'm like you, I love the outdoors. I don't like the rain so much. Messes with the hair. But I will take breaks in my day to walk outside. I give myself that permission to, and I'm so much more creative when I do that. And that's what our bodies need. So yeah. So yay, we're celebrating ourselves.
And I was just sharing in my 10-minute presentation this morning that because I live on a farm, there's a mango tree out there that I love to hug every so often because it's just, it produces beautiful mangoes and, I get to be out in nature and ground and all of that. So, yeah.
Oh, nice. And the nutrients from those mangoes, yes, please.
So when you come to
Right.
Hawaii, please, we'll go hiking because I love
Yes.
hiking.
The last time I went hiking was on Oahu to, let's see, Sacred Falls.
Oh, okay. I've never been there.
I had to, it was a long time ago, another previous, evolution of Kathy. We had to cross over like 3 creeks, which wasn't a big deal, except for the trees on the path grew like this, over the path. So it was like really kind of cool, except for the people, all the 3 people I was following were really short. And I didn't realize that. And I bumped my head because I wasn't squatting low enough. And I'm just following them, do bonk. But yeah, so I love to hike. So you come here, we'll go hiking too. Or we'll just sit on the beach. That's cool too. So yeah.
Awesome. And do you have any last words for the listeners? Like any, last nuggets that you want to share?
I just encourage them to say, why not? A lot more in their life, right? When you recognize that when somebody says, do you want to do this? And you come up with all the excuses why you shouldn't, maybe one time, the next time you say, why not? Why not? Add a lot more why not. And then if you need to follow me, obviously, as you know, coachingwithkathy.life is my website. Coaching with Kathy on Instagram, Coaching with Kathy Rodriguez on Facebook, and then I'm on LinkedIn. And then I've got, like I said, the women's group coaching, and those sessions are one-offs, so they don't necessarily build together. So they can find that through my Facebook page or on my Instagram as well. And yeah, so set up a clarity call. Let's have a chat.
I love that. So your women's group is the next thing that's coming up?
That is the next thing. Yep. So that's, like I said, it's every Saturday or every 3rd Saturday of the month from 9 a.m. Pacific, and it's via Zoom. So, even though most of the women in the group are more local to me right now, it's hilarious because we don't gather. It's like they're in their jammies and I'm like, it's okay. I don't care. Right? It's via Zoom, and it's wonderful because if they can't make the session, then they have the recording and they get all the worksheets. I do worksheets they get the morning of, depending on the topic. And then we have a private Facebook group where they get prompts in between sessions. And so they've been doing a lot of prep for this one, working through their core values, because we're going to start weeding out the room and the people we have in that room and talk about boundaries. So it's going to be a good one.
Very good. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for being on today. I want to thank our sponsor, Mutual Aid Network. And what they do is, it's such a beautiful nonprofit. What they do is they take people's skills and from all over the world, and they get to trade their skills. So if people may not have the finances for whatever reason, we can trade our skills with each other from all around the world. And so something that I love is Zoom karaoke. I started that during the pandemic. And so every so often, yeah, I'll host a Zoom karaoke for Mutual Aid Network, get people from all around the world to come sing their favorite songs. And it's just so much fun.
Oh
So
my gosh. Can
yes,
I just
without
be in the room and listen to everybody? You'd not want to hear me sing.
no people that just, love to be part of the audience, and it's so much fun as well. And then also I promote frequency infused
Yes.
nutrition. And that's just something that I love because everything is energy, right? So helping to raise our frequency and vibration. And I would love, Kathy, for you to share your testimony on our source trace minerals, and share a little bit.
Well, it is wonderful. It was one of those things that when you and I met, we had met through somebody else, Diana, right, had introduced us and through BNI, and I had just received my like I met with my naturopath, right? My functional nutrition. And she had gone through my lab work and had talked to me about what I needed. And one of the things that stood out for me, of course, biologist, right? I looked at the chart and everything's pretty good. I'm like, well, why is my iron low, but my ferritin is high? So that's the iron in your blood versus the iron your body is storing. And she said, well, that's because you need more trace minerals. And she pointed out the different ones that were low in my blood level. Your body is holding on to the iron. That's why it's high, because you don't have enough of those trace minerals. And so once you start taking some trace minerals, and she gave me the list of what they were, then your body will naturally start releasing, and that so both will just balance out. And so knowing that I needed that, you and I had the call like 2 or 3 days later, and I had not purchased any yet. I looked and I hadn't found any. I'm very picky with what I put in my body, right? As a biologist and someone who did clinical research as well as in fitness, my body is my temple, right? I don't like to put a bunch of, I'm not perfect. Let's put it, let's just say that. But if I'm going to make a choice, I want a product that is going to be very positive for me and clean. And of course, as a yogi, energies is also something that I work with. So it was wonderful to try it. And I feel so much like I can feel more energy, more focus. I can tell what it is doing for my body, not only physically but energetically. And that's what I loved about finding you and trying the product. And I just put the dropper in there and drink it up, and it's not like the other stuff. There's other things that just taste absolutely nasty. I don't want to, nobody's going to take that if it tastes nasty, and this does not, right? And that's what I love, is that it's so positive in so many ways. And I love that we connected that, because that is my focus: body, mind, spirit, right? Or soul, whichever you want to call.
Thank
Full
you
body.
so much. I appreciate you. And yeah, it has all of our products have the 11 harmonic frequencies in it. So this is just something I'm so passionate about. And thank you again, Kathy, so much for being on the World of Nutrition podcast today. And we look forward to having our next podcast next month. So we'll see you